Says one of the speakers is saying that all the prophets are alive as they all prayed behind Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the night of Miraj, the night of the ascension to the seventh heaven. And he says, as prayer is prescribed only for the living. Now, what is meant by this statement of this person or this speaker? What is his intention? Because it's important to analyze what people say and trying to detect their intention. So if he simply said that, I would agree with him and I would say, yes, they are alive, but. And this but is extremely important because their lives are different than ours. So ask this speaker, is their lives similar to ours at the moment, in the sense that we eat, we drink, and we visit the toilet? So those prophets and those who are dead, and you say that they are alive in their graves, do they eat, drink, and visit the toilet? Do they age like we do? Do they get married and reproduce? If he says yes, then he may need psychiatric evaluation, because we know that they don't. And if he says no, then we say, why is that? And he would say, most likely, because their life is in al-barzakh. And we know that we have three stages of lives. The life of the dunya, which we live in and which we die in. Then we move after death to the life of the barzakh, which is a transitional period between this dunya and the akhirah. And then we have the life of the akhirah, which is eternal, without an end. And this is where people go to paradise or go to hell. May Allah protect us. So if he acknowledges that they are alive in al-barzakh, in this case, we have no dispute. But if his intention, which is most likely, is that they are alive, hence we can call them and they can hear us and they can respond to us and they can benefit us and protect us from harm, then this becomes a total different ball game. This is completely shirk and takes a person out of the fold of Islam to believe in such. Being alive in the graves does not mean that they can respond to us when we call them. As we know from the Quran and the Sunnah that we're not allowed to call anyone except Allah Azza wa Jal. So all those who had died cannot know what we say to them and what we ask of them, and they don't know what's happening to us. And this is why in the mutawatir hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, when he mentioned the hadith of the pool on the Day of Judgment, he said that there will come people from my ummah whom I recognize, and they will be sent away and prevented from drinking from the pool. And I would say, they are my people. Why are you doing this? And I will be answered by you, O Muhammad. Don't know what they've innovated after you. Which means that you were dead and you did not look at them. You did not see what they had innovated in Islam. And this means that the Prophet doesn't know, alayhi salatu wasalam, what is happening in our world after he had died. So what this speaker had said is correct, but it also dependent on his intention. Most deviant scholars or speakers who say such a thing, they do this to endorse the fact that you can call them and supplicate to them and seek refuge in them, which is totally shirk. There's a hadith that describes the Prophet ﷺ cupping his hands, blowing in them, reciting the last 3 surahs of the Quran and wiping over his body. It says he did this 3 times. Would you please demonstrate? First of all, that's a good question, because people need to understand. The sunnah of wiping your body after recitation has only 2 situations. One, it's a daily process. Every time you go to bed, the Prophet ﷺ, whenever he went to bed, he used to cup his hands like this. Then, before going to sleep, then he blows in his hand like this. And then he recites in his cupped hands, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, and wipes all what he can from his body. Then he cups his hands again, blows in his hands, and recites قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ رَبِّ النَّاسِ, and repeats wiping. The third time he does the same. So this is situation number one. Situation number two is when he used to feel sick or something is painful on his body or in his body. Then he used to cup his hands. He used to recite, not blow. He used to recite the ruqyah. And the ruqyah is not limited to قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ رَبِّ النَّاسِ. You can add to that Al-Fatiha. You can add to that Ayat Al-Kursi. You can add to that any ayahs that are related to your illness. And then he blows in his palms, in his hands, and then he wipes over the area that is affected, and he wants Allah to cure him. These are the only two situations that the Prophet used to wipe his body with. Now what we see in masjid, people wiping their whole bodies after salah, this is an innovation, a clear innovation. And also it is not part of the sunnah what the people do, dua, then wipe their faces after salah. Again, this is not part of the sunnah, and some scholars even went further to say that this is a clear innovation. So I hope this makes sense to you. Before going to bed, you blow, then you recite Qul al-Ikhlas, al-Falaq, al-Nas, and you wipe, then you repeat doing that, and you wipe, then you repeat doing that. You do not recite Qul huwa Allahu ahad 3 times and wipe, then Qul a'udhu rabbil falaq 3 times and wipe. No, this is wrong. You recite a set of these 3 surahs and then wipe, another set and a third set. I hope this answers your question.